Hey y'all, I'm Derek and welcome back to 31 Days of Found Horror. I might be going a little crazy from all this. So, yesterday was a lot of fun. Let's see if we can keep this momentum up. Today's movie is a movie called The Light. And the description says it is a horror, sci-fi, comedy, found footage film. That's a lot to live up to. It's a little bit over an hour long, so let's get started. Oh, you're still here. I guess this movie was really bad. Okay, so the provenance of this film states that this footage was declassified from WikiLeaks, which is the whole point of WikiLeaks anyway. Oh well. So, cameraman, Phil, wakes up his sister and brother-in-law. And it's very over the top. You can't really read it, but you wouldn't believe how many times I wrote acting, acting, acting in my notes. So then there's an exposition dump. Basically, Phil is the tag-along for a camping trip between three best friends who haven't gone camping in about 15 years. Oh my. Phil and the guy go and pick up Barry, who they classify as the weirdo. Apparently on their last camping trip 20 years ago, something happened and he's just been weird ever since. And it's to the point that he sort of sounds like Kermit the Frog. Then they go pick up Dennis. And Dennis yells at Phil because he calls Phil a creep for apparently performing a certain act upon himself while looking at Dennis's girlfriend at the last party Dennis held. And apparently nobody in this movie is a good guy. And then we meet Courtney, Dennis's girlfriend. She tries to take over the trip because she's upset that he didn't even invite her, so she invited herself. Okay. And I had a question through this entire movie. Why are these guys together as friends? None of them seem to act like friends. And Dennis wants to set up camp really quickly because it turns out he's nyctophobic. He has dreams and he wakes up screaming. So they show up to the campsite where they were at 20 years ago. And it's supposed to be a really pretty lake, but it looks really like a cesspool. I mean, it's a disgusting looking lake. So they get there and the first thing that Barry says is, "Let's smoke a joint." Just like that. Let's smoke a joint. I'm acting. And then all of a sudden, a guy just jumps into screen and he looks like a mixture between Rip Taylor and Joe Exotic and acts the same way. Hey, I'm just your friendly neighbor. And he's like, I don't know why you would want to camp here. Don't you know there's been disappearances in these woods at this very location? And this is where we find out Barry was actually one of the disappearances, but he actually showed back up. Well, the guy obviously is an alien. I mean, you can spot that really quickly. And he invites them to a party that's happening in the clearing down the Ottawa. It starts at midnight. Courtney wants to go. Nobody else wants to go. And they're all mad because basically they parked right on the trail that leads straight to the party, so there's going to be a bunch of hooligans walking around at midnight. Ooh. And then for some reason, Phil, feeling that he's being left out of this, just starts doing silly dances in front of the camera and starts cursing out Dennis, and then he gets interrupted by Dennis, which thank God that scene's over. It made no sense. So around the campfire, Barry tells the story of when he went missing from this very location when they were 20 years younger, and he showed up the next day and all he had was his red mark on his wrist. And then there's a sound. Courtney literally pulls out a gun and has really bad gun control. Dennis asks Phil if he can borrow his camera so that he and Courtney can do the horizontal shake and bake in the tent. And then while they're in there, all of a sudden, Courtney hears something, so she goes out to investigate, and she gets captured and released. Okay. So they decide to look over the footage, and this is when we find out that Dennis actually had an affair with Courtney's mom. I don't know why that was important, except for the fact that it made Courtney run to the party. So all the guys follow her to the party, and it's like a redneck yacht club version of Burning Man, if that makes sense. Phil's just going up to random people asking, "Why are you here? Why are you here?" And they all say the same thing. "I'm supposed to be here." Okay, the drugs must be really, really good. During the party, that weird guy from the beginning comes up and gives a speech. So the guys we all know and love have already left to go back to the campground. And Phil runs after them and says, "Weird stuff's happening at the party." So he brings them back to the party, and no one's there. And the fire's already dead. It's been dead for like a good day. And they see a light in the woods. And when I say a light, it literally is an orb of light. And standing right in front of it is this guy who looks like a mixture of Fang Du and the aliens from Battlefield Earth. He's walking in front of it, walking towards them. So Barry gets abducted. Courtney shoots the alien, and it takes exception to that. And the aliens abduct all of them. Next day, the campers reboot without Barry. Okay. No one remembers last night, and they all think Barry's gone missing again. Which brings up a weird point. Why did the aliens even do this? So they go looking for Barry, and they eventually find him at this old treehouse. And they find out that they've all been missing for a day. Ooh, missed time. Scary. They head back to the campground, but coming down the road are all the people who are at the party. And they're all walking very zombie-like. Ooh. Like they just got abducted or something. Ooh. So they try running away, and they find a crazy old coot living in a shack. And the crazy old kook's like, "There's no such thing as aliens." And so the crazy old coot goes out to shoot him, and he just goes away. So then they all split up. They're all going in different directions. Phil's having a Blair Witch moment where he's turned the camera on himself and he's crying into it, but this is how he's crying. So, old acting trick, if you can't cry, laugh, because when you're on stage, it's hard to decipher which is which if it's done properly. It doesn't work when the camera's literally like this. So they all run into each other again, and they have a confrontation with Fang Du. So they run back to the campground, although it's more like power walking because, you know, tension. They get into the car to try to run away, but the car won't start. So Barry nobly sacrifices himself so that they can all live, and he gets abducted again. I literally wrote, "Oh my God, they killed Barry, you bastards!" I'm sorry I make myself laugh. So one by one, they each get taken, and it doesn't make sense. If they were going to be taken to begin with, why did the aliens drop them back down on Earth? Why? Why go through all this rigmarole? They should have just been abducted to begin with and saved me half an hour. This was bad, y'all. The characters were unrelatable tropes. No one was really likable. It had special effects, can't really fault them because the budget was basically a bag of Doritos. And the plot was just convoluted. Why did the aliens act the way they did? Why did they feel like it was necessary that they go on this trip? Why was Phil just going up to people randomly asking, "Why are you here?" They're at a party. Of course they're there for the party. I applaud the effort, but no. Just no. If y'all want to watch this movie, it will be down in the description, so give it a chance. Maybe you'll like it more than I did. I just didn't think it was any of the things they said. It wasn't horror, it wasn't really sci-fi, and it wasn't really comedy. It was just a thing. So that's it for this episode of 31 Days of Found Horror. Come back tomorrow for another found footage nightmare.